Why is it that the more successful the business gets, the more your family just gets the leftovers and the more you just want to check out? If you're a dad and a business owner, you might be at that point where you're asking yourself that question, or you've experienced that in the past. Well, what we're going to talk about today is a study from the 1960s that explains exactly why this is happening to driven men like you, and also the way out of it, which is different than what you might be thinking. Okay. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mario Minner. I'm a mental performance coach, been married for 9 years. I've got three girls under 6, and I've worked with about 100 CEO dads at this point to help them save time, shift their identity, and win in business and at home. So if that's you, subscribe and stay tuned to the end. All right. So in the 1960s, there was a study at the University of Michigan that really really uncovered why is it that they're the most driven people experience the most stress. And it served as one of the foundational studies in organizational stress. And what they did is they followed, I believe it was around 50 men, and they observed them interacting in business settings. These were people who were leaders, managers, they had employees, or they had people that were under them, and they also had lives outside of work. And they studied their stress, their anxiety, and they started to uncover some patterns and uncover why they felt the way that they did. And one of the core things that they found is this term called role conflict. And this explained the core of like why people felt so much stress when they were leaders and when they had a lot going on at home. And role conflict is the simultaneous occurrence of 2 or more sets of pressures such that compliance with one would make compliance with the other more difficult. So think about that. This is like the core of why you as a dad and a business owner feel this tension and this pressure, because you feel like success in or pressure in your business comes at the cost of success or pressure at home. Or even if you were trying to take care of yourself, personal health, maybe prioritize your faith. And this is why, like, when the demands of your business are so high, the stress really piles on top of that. And it's not a personal failure, because what they found was this wasn't specific to just personality traits. This wasn't specific to the ways that these people were showing up. There was a couple of other explanations that justified this. Now, I've seen this when I've worked with the CEO dads, and a lot of people that I've worked with, they come to me with a successful business that has systems, but their personal life, they're just completely winging it. Okay. So when you think about like your business has a CRM, you got sales processes, you probably got sales team, you've got weekly meetings, you've got KPIs, you've got sequences for follow-ups, you've got a lot of times you have goals, you have a scoreboard, you're measuring, there's meetings, and there's a cadence for when you're reviewing your performance. But on the other side, your family life is just kind of like winging it. You're just very reactive. You maybe haven't been going to the gym as consistently as you want. And that's because your business has systems, but your family life doesn't. Your business is engineered, but your family life isn't. And in this study, they started to uncover a couple of interesting things that I think are really relevant to share with you today. And the first is that role conflict was everywhere and the damage was real. So in this study, they found that role conflict across industries and income levels, they wrote that it was identity destroying. It's not just their words, it's identity destroying. So that's why if you're a dad and a business owner, you're maybe thinking like, who am I? Or you feel like this misalignment between you being this very successful, driven person, but it doesn't feel like that. You might even feel like you're failing in your business and feeling like you're failing at home. That's because of what we're talking about here. Here's the second thing that I thought was super interesting, and it was the more driven you are, the harder it hits. So the role conflict stress was higher for people who were more achievement oriented. And really, what this means is people who are more achievement oriented, probably somebody like you, that's definitely me, you want to be succeeding in all areas of your life. So you have a really high standard for how you want to show up in your business and a really high standard for how you want to show up in your life at home as a dad, as a husband, as an athlete, as a son, as a brother, as a friend. So when you have very high achievement oriented standards and you have this pressure that's confining you, then that's when it actually hits you the hardest. So if you're experiencing this stress from role conflict, then it actually is a sign that you are one of those people who actually really cares. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's just a sign that you really care. And I think this is going to be almost like encouraging for a lot of people to realize the more driven you are, like the harder it hits. So that was one of the things. Then another thing that I thought was really interesting was how do people react when they're under the stress of role conflict? It's actually withdrawal. So withdrawal was the automatic response. So that's why you kind of check out. That's why people kind of start to slow down or try and like take the easy way out. It's because your body is just trying to conserve energy. So that's why if you've ever been at home after a long day of work, you've got demands, you've got stress, and then you get right home, your kids are just, all over the place. They want to play with you. You got to make dinner. You're trying to check in with your wife. And sometimes you just feel like you need to mentally shut down or just mentally check out. That's exactly what this is. It's just the automatic response to dealing with role conflict. So it's damaging. It's going to hit the hardest, most driven people. Withdrawal is the natural response. And then another thing was the root cause of this wasn't an individual flaw. It was actually what they said in the study. It's the structure of the environment and not a flaw in the process. So the role conflict was made worse when there weren't boundaries between what that individual was doing at work and what they were supposed to be doing at home. It was also made worse when there wasn't clarity on what their role was, what the clarity on the process was. So what they found is it was more of an environment issue than it was an individual issue. Because clearly these are people who are very driven, very achievement oriented. That's why they were leading teams in the first place, is because they had those attributes. So that's why when I'm working with dads and CEOs, that's one of the first concepts that we talk about. Like, it's not a you problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's more of a systems problem. And the language that they used in the study is it's more of a structure of the environment. So if you understand this, then you want to start to ask yourself, how can I design my environment in a way that allows me to win in both of those areas? Or you can ask yourself, how do I put systems in place to allow me to succeed in both of those areas? And then the last thing is, what they found is that it actually gets worse the more you climb the scale and the more your business grows. So it intensifies as more people depend on you, as revenue shakes or as revenue rises. And that's just because there's more demands on you and on your time. And so don't need to go like even deeper into this, but hopefully you're kind of understanding that there's almost 60 years of science that explains why you feel these demands that you're in, and it's not your fault. It's not discipline. It's just a structure of the environment. It's just really a systems issue. And that's why in the work that I do with my clients, I really take them from trying to balance everything to engineer success, and really shift from like this grit mentality to systems and designing, and really trying to focus on things that are more scalable long term and more consistent. And if that's you, like, I want you to understand, like, there's a specific process that we go through, and we take them through the work-life engineering framework. And there's 5 phases to this, and they need to be implemented in this specific order because they all build on top of each other. So instead of just trying to balance everything, I'm a big believer that you need to engineer success in these key areas. And the first is energy. So when your energy is consistent, that has a ripple effect into every other area of your life, your business, your family, your wife, your faith, all of it just gets better. And I'm not talking about going to the gym 6 times a week for an hour. I'm talking about building a simple system, a simple rhythm that you can follow consistently that helps you know exactly what you need to do on a daily basis. Once your energy is dialed, we've got to start to help you shift your identity and your beliefs so that the thoughts and the beliefs that are no longer serving you, those aren't keeping you stuck. So that's where we get into helping guys shift their mentality, helping them become the best versions of themselves, helping them become the leaders that they know that they're capable of. Because when you're stuck in that role conflict, you're going to be defaulting to the old beliefs, the old patterns that are running the show. So then once you identify what those beliefs are and you shift them, then we start to get into time. This is where every single week you've got to have simple rhythms in place that help you know exactly what you need to do in your business, your family, your personal priorities, and then have a simple way to execute those and adjust as things inevitably come up. Now, once you've engineered your time, we carry over those same systems into your business and work backwards from your yearly targets, your quarterly targets, and you just reverse engineer success. So you tie the things that you're doing every single day to the outcomes that you want in your business. And once you've done all of that, you're going to be showing up more consistently. You're going to be showing up with more energy. You're going to have more time. You're going to be more dialed into your business. And then you carry that over into your family so that you can show up as the leader of your family, still have quality time for your wife, still have quality time for your kids, and show up in a consistent way with them. So if you've made it to the end, I hope that you understand that role conflict explains why you're feeling this tension and this pressure between business and family. And the way out in that study was to structure the environment. And that's where I call it implementing the right systems. So if that's you, I want you to know it's not your fault. There is a way out. Just follow the systems. So go ahead and book a call down below or check out some of the other videos on this page because it's all about helping you succeed in business and in family life. Till then, see you in the next one.